You know what this is? It's a strut, but you know what it really is? It's a quick strut. The absolute bane of my existence as a mechanic. I was called the Strut King, but you know what? I only installed OEM struts. So let me tell you why. Quick struts are the biggest comeback for mechanics. They're headaches for customers. They're just all around crap in my opinion. And maybe after this video, you might not install one and you might opt for the OE struts and, you know, avoid a headache. So let's talk about that. So you're probably wondering what I'm talking about, and it's going to take a little bit. A lot of customers paid for my stupidity and ignorance as a mechanic. Fledgling mechanic, young mechanic. We all make mistakes. My biggest mistake was thinking that aftermarket quick struts could do what OEM struts could do. And boy, I was wrong. Customers paid for it. I was like sitting there after doing struts and I had that Pikachu face like, I screwed up. And somebody's got to pay for it. So, first things first. 10 years. It's been 10 years since I installed a quick strut as a mechanic. And like I said, if you're not learning as a mechanic, what are you doing? There's a lot of trial and error. Unfortunately, somebody pays for it, whether the car's under warranty or whether it's customer pay. It's shitty. It's hands down shitty. So, first thing I noticed when I was doing quick struts is you take your old strut and I'd notice that the coil springs would be way thicker. Well, what's going on here? Your springs are what holds the weight of the vehicle up. Unsprung weight, you guys can correct me in the comments. You don't have to be, people go to school for years to deal with spring theory. And what people don't realize is the spring keeps the vehicle up, your shock keeps the tire on the ground. Struts are very simple to diagnose. A lot of people struggle with them. If it's leaking, it's screwed. If the coil spring is broken, the strut is screwed. It doesn't get more complicated than that. If it's making noise turning, the coil, the bearing in the top of the mount is done and the shock is done. I could teach people this for hours. But what kills me is when I put aftermarket quick struts on, the coil spring is usually double the thickness. That causes some issues. So the first thing is I noticed stiff rides. Oh my goodness. I would put these quick struts in, and let's say like a Honda Civic, Toyota Camry, Corolla, Fords, Dodges. I noticed them all. The ride quality was shit. I don't swear too much. And you're probably wondering, how the hell did I compare these two as well? When you're not at a dealership, you drive a lot of makes and models and you get familiar with them. So if I had a huge run Ford Escapes, for example, and I had some newer ones, I'd be making sure on road tests how this drove, and I'd get one with bad struts and I'd put quick struts in and I'd be like, no, this isn't how the vehicle handles. This is not right. So that's the first thing. Ride quality just goes out the window. The second thing is noise. This is especially noticeable on Honda Civics. You guys can chime in the comments what you've experienced it with. I could take an aftermarket strut and I could remove the old OEM shock or strut. It would be blown out, leaking, the bellows completely destroyed. You could push it down, it would bounce 6-7 times. I'd put an aftermarket quick strut in. It'd be noisier somehow than the failed OEM strut. The noises. And that's what bugged me. Imagine you're calling a strut, you show the customer it's physically failed. You can show the bouncing, the oscillations, everything. You put in a quick strut and it somehow sounds worse. What do? There's not many options. You know how many times in the aftermarket we've had to call the dealer? Like, don't get me wrong, I love Napa, but damn, they're one of them too. Their struts suck. I think every aftermarket quick strut sucks. OEM is, like, in my opinion, the only way to go. So imagine you put in a brand new strut, you've convinced the customer that the quick strut is the best option to go because you get everything new. You get a new mount, you get new bearing, insulators, everything, the whole 9 yards. And this damn thing is noisier than the failed strut. That is a tough one. A lot of the times customer would notice in the first week, you try and say, you lie to the customer. I've seen so many business owners lie to the customer saying, oh yeah, you got to drive it for a bit. The noise, the shocks will settle in, all this BS, which you know at the time it is not true. And then this goes on for weeks and months. You warranty a few struts. Then the manufacturer comes back for the quick struts aftermarket, and then they say, no, you got to go to this higher end brand. They might cover it under warranty. Put in this higher end quick strut, and same thing, still noisy, still shit. Absolute garbage. It's a really tough thing to deal with, especially in a private garage. And the same thing happens at a dealer. Let's say you're at a dealer and for some reason, I hope they never do this where you're at, they quote the OEM struts and they quote the quick struts. So this can be huge. So let's take a 2019 Honda Pilot Ridgeline. They use the same struts. Aftermarket quick struts might be $500 a side, where the OEM ones are pushing $1,200 a side. So what do you think is going to happen? The customer is going to go for the one that's almost $1,200 cheaper, which is the quick struts, which I absolutely refuse to do. I think it was our policy that we never did aftermarket struts unless the customer was really adamant about it. So, you don't want to be involved in this. Like, that's one of those things. And for customers, you do it yourself. You're a DIYer. Oh, I get it. A quick strut. 3 bolts on the top, 2 on the bottom if you're lucky, and you take the link off. You drop it in. It's good to go. It seems simple, but you know what? If you just, a lot of the time, you can rebuild these. These are 100% rebuildable. 1 nut in the middle, coil spring compressor. You take this out, then you check the bearing. It's good to go, you know, and then you bolt in the new one. Fraction of the cost. You know what? Sometimes you'd be surprised. Maybe this shock is $100, $150 at the dealer. Buy the damn tool. Do it once. You have the tool for life. Find somebody who has the tool. Just do it. OEM shocks are so much better than aftermarket. And you guys can fight me in the comments, but when I realized this 10 years ago, I eliminated all my comebacks for suspension. It's a really shitty thing. So, bad shocks. Let's talk about this. This is going a little further in the video. When you put a bad shock in a vehicle, what's attached to this? You go down a little further, you're going to have your knuckle, and your knuckle's attached to either, however you're looking at it, it can have more control arms, but there's always going to be a ball joint here. So what happens if you put one of these aftermarket quick struts in? Its spring rate is 2 times worse or 2 times harder than it was before. The spring is keeping the vehicle up. It's way too strong for the actual shock they designed. So now you got this hard thing hitting on your ball joint. I've seen more ball joints and tie rod ends on aftermarket struts fail than having the OEM one on. It's something a lot of people don't think about. When you're changing, they say OE spec, I'm calling BS. 100% I'm calling BS. Again, you can fight me in the comments. I've seen more failed suspension components having quick struts on them. That's just an observation. There's no way to test this long term because a lot of time, by the time the person puts in the first set of quick struts, that vehicle's on its way out on its life. I'll be honest, at least here in the north. No one's going to put a second set of quick struts unless it's warranty because at that point, they're pretty much done with the vehicle. So yeah, some food for thought. Post what you think. This is just my opinion as a mechanic who's been in the trade long enough. I learned from my mistakes. A lot of people paid for them, I hate to say, but that's the automotive industry. So that's where I drew my line in the sand. They called me the Strut King, but it wasn't the quick Strut King. So, Lance Mechanics, if you like this video, like, subscribe, hit that like button. My video is going to be a little slower coming out because I'm working a lot, and I've decided after when I get home to go to the gym. So, time is thin, or it's very hard to come by. So, hope you like the video. Have a good one.